Hare Krishna. I'm very grateful to be with you again. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, Brahma stealing the boys and calves, Text 33. This particular section and chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is very special to us, as by Krishna's own divine arrangement, this was the last chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada personally translated and gave us purports for. These translations and purports were given when Srila Prabhupada was laying in his bed during his very last days in this world with us in Vrindavan. Today's verse, we find the inconceivable, mysterious, exciting qualities of Krishna's attraction. Janmadhyashayataha. The Vedanta Sutra tells that Krishna is the origin of everything that exists. Anandamayo Vyashat. That Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and therefore every living being, being part and parcel of Krishna, naturally is seeking pleasure. So, in this world, we find certain universal principles. Whether one is from China or India or Pakistan or Iran or America or Africa, little children like to have fun. Yes? Little children like to play. Whether one is an atheist or an agnostic or a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew. In fact, even little animals, puppies, puppy dogs, little calves. Children like to have fun. They like to play. Why is that? From the Vedantic point of view, there's a very deep philosophical explanation. We may just say it's nature, but that brings us to an even higher philosophical concept. What is nature and why? Because in the spiritual world, youth, everyone is eternally youthful. Krishna is Navayovanam Cha. He is eternally youthful, and every living being is eternally youthful. Even the old people are eternally youthful. Because nobody's actually old. The sense of old means you're getting closer to death. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, and even Parjanya, the grandfather of Krishna, they're actually ever youthful. It's not that they're eternally old. They're forever youthful. But their youthfulness is expressed in an elderly role. So everyone is looking for pleasure. And Krishna is all attractive because Krishna is the ultimate object of everyone's pleasure. And to the extent we experience that pleasure of that connection, of being attracted to the supreme, infinite, timeless, attractive qualities of Krishna, the absolute truth, then all of the inebrities that cause material suffering cease to exist. Krishna Surya Samaya Oya Andhakar. When the sun rises, there is no darkness. Darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. Darkness's existence is actually due to the absence of light. Darkness doesn't have its own actual existence. It's simply the absence of light. So Krishna is compared by Lord Chaitanya to the Supreme Sun. In the presence of Krishna, the darkness of avidya or ignorance is naturally dispelled. And it is in that darkness of ignorance that all of the haunting sufferings of this world exist. Selfish passion, anger, which is due to the frustration of our expectations for those passions, envy, which is when somebody has more than what I want, or something has something, somebody else has something I need. Greed. No matter how much we get, the soul is looking for unlimited pleasure. It can never be satisfied with the temporary, fleeting things of this world. An illusion. They cause us so much anxiety. And mostly because we have this selfish lust and envy and anger and arrogance and greed, because of those qualities, there's bhayam, there's fear. Fear that we may lose something that we have. And fear is the predominating quality of this world. Because we're going to lose everything. At the time of death, all of our loved ones, all of our wealth, all of our abilities, all of our intelligence, everything is taken away. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. And whether we like it or not, this world is constructed in such a way that it can be taken away at any moment. We just do not know. That's the nature of this place. And people are so much motivated by fear. People work so hard because they're afraid what will happen if they don't have something. People are so fearful of relationships because in this world they're often so vulnerable. People fear becoming old because people like to be attractive. And old age, somehow or other, is a disturbance to that. Your health, your vitality, your beauty. even the way you think. And in this world, and it's not just something modern, it's always been like this. Wars. Just 2 days ago, I was speaking at Cambridge University in England, and some of the people from the student union wanted to give me a tour, so I was walking around. And in King's College, there's a big church, gigantic church, incredible church. It took 90 years to build it. It's all solid stone. And there was some descriptions about the history of it. And it's all about kings and dukes and lords fighting and killing and conquering, and one day you're a king and the next day you're in the Tower of London. Sounds like a nice place, but actually it was a prison house where you were tortured, and you were tortured up there, you were imprisoned there, and if you were on a higher level, you get your head cut off. That's the way they did it. Even the king's queen. He had 6 queens, one of them, and he would cut off their heads sometimes if they didn't satisfy him. This is Yadyaracharati Srestas. Krishna said, what leaders do, common people follow. But so much intrigue, constantly wars going on. And that's practically the history of every country. I'm from the United States, and when I went to school, I don't know how things are taught these days. I went to school in the 50s and 60s. And the whole history was usually categorized by wars. Revolutionary War, the Spanish-American War, the French-British War, the World War, the Civil War, World War I, then World War II, then Korean War, and Vietnam War, and then there's Iraq War, and so many wars. And if you study the French history, there's world wars, there's revolutions. In India, how many wars, how many conquests. So in this way, people throughout history have lived with so much fear. And even if it's somehow or other a time when there's not that many wars, still you have to die. That's inevitable. And as you grow older, it gets closer. And time goes so fast. Yesterday, I came from London, and some devotees were in the car driving me from the airport to the temple here. And some of our doctors from Bhaktivedanta Hospital were telling how now they're 50 years old. And, they're thinking about a succession who's, to bring the spirit of the hospital, to the newer generations so that it will continue on with that devotional spirit. And as he was talking, I was thinking, just yesterday, I was going to your college. And you were just a student thinking about, I'll get out of this exams and I'll be a brahmachari. And then I was requesting them, why don't you stay in college and go for your postgraduate studies? And then, I was there for their marriage, and they were little puppies, and parents coming and giving blessings. And I said, you're thinking about succession? I looked a little closer. I saw they all had gray hairs and everything. That's actually quite unbelievable. The time goes very fast. Time and tide wait for no one. They don't have to wait for us because they're always with us. When it says time waits for no man or woman, they don't have to wait because they're constantly with us, with every moment. So fear, anger, all of these things, they do not exist. When param dristva nivartate, when we experience that higher reality of Krishna. Krishna is ever youthful. And in this material world, Krishna appears in the form of a deity and looks the same. He's always the same, youthful. Yes, Sri Ram's getting old, but Krishna's and Radharani, they still look. So in this way, Govindaji in Jaipur is 5,000 years old. He looks the same. Because Krishna takes a form in such a way to give us some hints, some experience of his eternal beauty, his eternal grace. So here in this beautiful pastime, today's verse, the cowherd men were extremely angry and fearful. And they started running down in order to, alleviate their fear and express their anger. But as soon as they saw their sons and the little calves, they became so completely overwhelmed with love. That love dissipated all their fear. And why was there such love? Because they didn't even know it, but Krishna was in the role of their children. You see, in the path of bhakti, because Krishna is all attractive, because Radha is all attractive, we don't try to eliminate fear by simply negating it. Love is the ultimate light. Where there's love for Krishna, none of these bad qualities, none of these qualities of darkness can exist in the light of love. Bhakti, bhava, prema, this is spiritual love. And Krishna consciousness means replacing the darkness with the light, with devotion. So this particular story, there are so many incredible lessons of rasa, lessons of philosophy, lessons of social culture. Krishna interconnects all of them when he performs his beautiful leelas. So I will speak something about what brought us to this verse today. Why are these cowherd men running down a mountain angry and fearful? And why are they smelling their sons' heads? So we will answer that question. At the beginning of the chapter, we find Shukadev Goswami speaking to King Parikshit, the king who was told he was going to die in 7 days. And instead of becoming frantically concerned about everything in this world, he welcomed this news. I have 7 days. Whether we have 7 days or 700 years, still we have to do something. And what's the greatest thing we could be done? Parikshit Maharaj knew history. Maharaj Khatvanga, he was told he had 1 minute, and he perfected his life in that 1 minute. So King Parikshit wanted to hear what is the essence of all religion? What is the duty of a person about to die? So he was sitting there for so many days, listening to Shukadev Goswami speaking about this philosophy of Bhagavad Dharma. And the culmination is Krishna's appearance in this world. And it's still, Krishna's just a little child. And Parikshit Maharaj is so eager to hear more and more and more. He's telling that this knowledge is so sweet, it is so pleasing to the heart, that it gets newer and newer and newer. And Srila Prabhupada explains, this is the quality of actual spiritual advancement. Nothing's boring. When we're actually making spiritual progress, Krishna's name becomes sweeter every time we chant it. Krishna's pastimes become sweeter every time we hear it. It's nice to learn new things as far as something we ever heard before. But when we actually start to develop love, then even those things we've heard before, because it's Krishna's pastimes, they're newer and fresher each time. The things we never heard before become even more ecstatic to hear again than things we never heard. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. But that's why it's inconceivable. Even these in the West, and I guess in the East also, but there is musicians that play concerts. And usually the people in the audience, they don't want to hear something new. They want to hear something they already know. Yes, play this. And as soon as they start, everyone roars and screams. Because how long could they do that? So when we hear Krishna's going to the Brahma Vimohan Leela, as we develop our love for Krishna, we become more and more and more eager to hear. Because we connect with Krishna, and Krishna reciprocates with us through that sound vibration. So Krishna had just delivered Aghasura. And that was incredible the way he did it. And Lord Brahma and the Devas were celebrating how Krishna liberated this Aghasura, this gigantic serpent. It was extraordinary. And Brahma came down to see, how is Krishna doing these things? And what he saw really bewildered him. Krishna, with his friends, he came to the bank of the Yamuna River, and he said, let us sit here and have our lunch. This is such a nice place to have lunch. The river Yamuna is flowing, singing her sweet song, with the beautiful breeze coming. And there are such wonderful flowers blossoming with fragrances. And attracted by these flowers and these wonderful trees, there are honeybees buzzing. Buzz. Hear them buzzing. And so many birds are singing. There's cuckoo birds singing, and there's swans, and ducks, bardraj. There's peacocks cawing. Just, that's all you could hear here, is the sweet songs of birds and the humming of bees. And the sand here is so clean and soft and fresh. Let us sit here and take our lunch. Everyone was so happy. They all had their little lunch packs. They were taking their preparations out. And the little cowherd boys were just having fun. They were using their creative desire to enjoy. And each one would make their own plate to put their prasad. All natural plates, no plastic. Some would get a flower and make that into their plate and put all the preparations in their lunch bag into a flower. And there are different kinds of flowers. Some were putting them on lotus flowers. Some were putting them on other types of beautiful, fragrant flowers. Others were getting leaves and making plates out of leaves. Some were using the bark of trees. Others were using rocks of different colors and different formations. And then they all, as they were showing each other each preparation. Look what I have. And everyone would look and say, look what I have. And it wasn't like a competitive thing. Because they were showing so they could share, and they were all sharing with each other. If something tasted good, they would say, Krishna, taste this. This is really nice. They would eat it. And Krishna, you should taste this. And Krishna would take it, and he would taste it, and then they would be passing their food around. And this was bewildering to Brahma. Because God is God. He doesn't play like this in most people's conceptions. He's Yajna Purusha. Yajna Purusha means he's the supreme person whose all offerings of yajna are offered to him. And here he's taking the offerings of he's offering to other people and then eating that. There's that beautiful story in Nectar of Devotion. Some of the cowherd boys said, Krishna, I have something really, really nice for you. And they would do this to each other. And Krishna says, close your eyes, open your mouth. And then they put a flower in his mouth. And everybody would laugh and dance. So Brahma was thinking, maybe this isn't really God. maybe somebody else is in this role of Krishna. Because otherwise, how could he be playing like this with ordinary little boys? So he decided to show his power. He's very powerful. His mystic yogic powers as Brahma. So as they were playing and they were joking and they were eating, the acharyas explained how many jokes they would tell for each other. One bee came, bzzz, and Krishna said to the bee, have you come to kill my friend Madhu Mangal? I will protect him. And the bee would smile and all the boys would laugh. Brahma saying, this is God? What? Somebody else is in Krishna's role. I have to show my powers now. So as they were enjoying the calves, little calves, such beautiful, sweet little calves. Calves are the personification of innocence. They were just chewing on grass and drinking the water. And they, somehow or other, they were lured further and further away until none of the calves could be seen. And the boys became fearful out of affection, out of care for all their calves. They were afraid. What happened to them? They're gone. And Gopal, he smiled. He said, "You go on eating and enjoying. I will find the calves." Krishna personally, for his friends, went to look for his calves. To be the servant of God, to be the servant of God. But it's Krishna's greatest pleasure to serve his devotees. So Krishna went looking. And what happened is Brahma, he stole all the calves. So Krishna was actually searching. He went to the pastures, he went to the mountains, he went to the caves. Then he came back to see his friends, and all his friends were gone. Now we read from the Acharyas that Brahma had no power to steal Krishna's calves or friends. But Krishna knew exactly what was happening, and he was facilitating. So just like Ravana stole the Maya Sita, Krishna stored all of his friends in such a way so that Brahma couldn't see them. He covered them all with Yoga Maya, and then he created Maya friends. And Brahma stole all of them. The others just kind of disappeared. And Krishna was holding in his hand dahi, fruit and rice. And that's what he was eating when he went to look for his calves. And he just kept holding it as he was going all around Braj Bhumi looking, and then he came back and he was still holding it. See how he didn't even eat it. He was so dutiful to serve his friends. And Krishna knew exactly what Brahma has done. And Brahma's a devotee. So Krishna wanted to protect him. What's the greatest thing that separates us from loving devotion to the Supreme Lord? It is false pride, the ego. So Krishna sensed in Brahma there was some ego, that he's powerful. So let me teach him a really good lesson. And at the same time, when Krishna was a little boy, all the cows loved Krishna as their own child. And all the elder gopis loved Krishna as their own child. And they were all thinking that if only I could offer the services that Yashoda offers. And the men, if only I could offer the services that Nanda Maharaj offers. But there was no envy. There was actual appreciation. And this is a very, very deep lesson. If we have no envy, when Krishna gives special mercy to a devotee, then Krishna facilitates us to actually have that experience. If they had any envy, Krishna wouldn't have done this. But because they appreciated with such love the exalted position of Nanda and Yashoda. Therefore, Krishna, by his wonderful Rasaraj nature, he was thinking that how will I go home all alone? What will all the mothers and fathers think? So Krishna expanded himself to be identical to every calf and every gopa, cowherd boy. Meticulously exact. Each one was wearing the same clothes. If there was a stain on the dhoti, they had the same stain on their dhoti. Each one was holding same little stick, same buffalo horn flutes, had the same turbans. Each had exactly the same physical features, had the same exact sounding voice, had the same mentality. Even the calves. Because you can't fool the mother. Perfect replicas. And they played with this, and each had the same relationships with each other. The way they'd look at each other, the way they'd joke with each other, the way they'd love each other. They all had those same relationships, and they were all the same person, Krishna. And when they were all playing their flutes and blowing their horns, announcing that they're coming home to the village, as all their mothers and their fathers jumped up to receive their little children, and the cows were so eager for their little calves to come back. Now this is very instructive too. You see, the calves, every evening, they would be able to come and meet the cows, their mothers, and have loving relationships with them. And when the gopis, when they met their little children, something happened that was extraordinary. They loved their children, but their love for their children was like never before. And even though their children were old enough to be, playing and herding calves, still, the mothers, their motherly affection became so uncontrollable that milk started coming from their breasts, and they were feeding their children their milk. And in the form of the children, Krishna was accepting their offerings. They'd bathe the body of their children, and they'd bathe and put oils and put new clothes after a day in the pasture grounds. They put them to sleep and dream about them all night, and the calves were just licking and licking and licking their the cows were licking their calves with so much enthusiasm, just like practically swallowing them. They had such motherly affection. It was love. And this went on for day after day after day. Actually, it went on for 1 year. That Krishna gave every gopi the opportunity to personally serve him and love him exactly the way Yashoda and Nanda did. And gave every cow that same experience. There are many incredible rasas of this Leela. One is that naturally, even if you love everybody, still you have something special to your own children. But for that whole year, all the gopis, they loved everyone's children exactly the way they loved their own children. Because everyone else's children was Krishna too. Mothers, would you like to experience something like this? Everyone else's children, you don't know it, but you just love them as much as your own, as much as Krishna. And when Krishna would leave, this is incredible too, because all the calves and all the boys were Krishna. And every day they would go out together. They'd leave their mothers and their fathers and the cows and everyone. But even when they were just among themselves, they played identically the roles that they had. Krishna was just enjoying with himself. One was Sridharma, one was Subala, one was Sudama, one was Stoka Krishna, one was Arjuna, one was Gandharva. They're all playing with each other and they're talking to each other and they're throwing bale fruits and they're dancing. And no, this is Krishna. And then we come to today's verse, where the cows are on top of Govardhan Hill with the cowherd man. And they have the cows see the calves with the little boys on the bottom of the hill. And their motherly affection is so overwhelming that they're galloping down the mountain as if they have two sets of legs. Because cows don't usually run like that. They were galloping, and their tails were all straight up. And they were mooing, like such anticipation. And the cowherd men were very angry because cows, they could get hurt running down mountains like this. And they were very afraid. What's happening? And they were running after them. And the cows went to their calves and started licking and licking and licking and crying and ecstasy. And the cowherd man, what's happening here? The calves were drinking the milk. And as soon as the cowherd man saw their sons, who were all Krishna, but looked just like their sons, and they didn't know, immediately all their fear, all their anger was like light dispels darkness. All their fear and anger could not exist in the presence of their overwhelming love for Krishna. And in the future verses, everything will be revealed. But whoever is giving class tomorrow, I don't want to disturb them. So I will end here. This is Vrindavan. And we will find in this Leela, when Brahma does come down to see what kind of trouble he creates, he sees everything's just like it was. And then he was even more bewildered. So he had the children hidden somewhere, and he went to see, and they were there. And then he came down and they were here, and then he was there, and he didn't. How is it possible? They're there and they're here. And then Krishna manifested each calf and each child as a four-armed form of Vishnu. Then Brahma was even more bewildered. And then each four-armed Vishnu had all the devas worshipping him, each one. It was quite a scene. Then he was even more bewildered. And then the whole scene disappeared, and all that was left was just an empty pasture with little Gopal with his fruit and yogurt in his hand, just innocently looking around. Where's my calves? Where's my friends? And then Brahma surrenders. And he gives this beautiful analogy. He said, just like a firefly in the moonless dark night gives light and thinks, I am illuminating the whole sky. See? Fireflies really do light up a little. They go, it's light. It just goes on and goes off, and they keep going. The firefly in the darkness is, you see, he's thinking he's lighting up the whole sky because he has these tiny little eyes that can only see so far. And as far as he could see, as far as his eyes or her, as far as his or her eyes can see, he's lighting up the whole sky. But when the sun rises, firefly, it doesn't make any difference. It's absolutely insignificant. So even the power of Brahma, you realize, compared to Krishna, I am insignificant. So if we take happiness in our own powers, our happiness will be insignificant. Whether you're an ant or Brahma. But if we take happiness in Krishna's powers, our happiness will be unlimited, unending, and ever increasing. And Brahma found that. And Brahma's realization that the ultimate expression of Krishna's power is in Vrindavan. Because it's so apparent, it's so intimate. Brahma knows about Mahavishnu. Brahma knows about Narayan, about the Lord as the creator of all universes and the master of Lakshmi in the spiritual world. Brahma knows all these things. But the power of the love and the sweetness and the intimacy of Vrindavan is the highest expression of reality. That was Brahma's conclusion. And we are so fortunate to be discussing this subject.